To avoid talking too much, the firstly point is to pay attention to the balance of the conversation. If the other person spends about 30 seconds sharing something, you should respond with roughly the same amount of time, not twice as long. The second point is to set a mental sentence limit for yourself. Usually 3 to 4 sentences are enough to clearly express your meaning, and if the other person wants to know more, they will naturally continue to ask questions. The third point is to observe the other person's reaction. If they started to timer, or when asked, please introduce yourself during an interview, a recommended template is as follows. First, thank the interviewer for the opportunity. Then, briefly introduce yourself and state that you are a hardworking and diligent person with the skills and qualities required for the position. Next, mention that in your past work experience, you often needed to work closely with teams, and that your relevant educational background allows you to quickly contribute to the team. You consider yourself a person who strives for excellence and has consistently received positive feedback from managers in your previous roles. If you are hired, you will give your all, exceed expectations, embrace change, and bring positive returns to the company. There are 3 things you should never say in a job interview. First, don't say I am nervous, because recruiters might think you lack confidence and are incapable of doing the job. Second, don't say anything negative about your previous employers, colleagues, or bosses. Otherwise, they might think the problem lies with you. Third, don't answer with perfectionism as your biggest weakness. When asked, what is your biggest weakness? When asked, what is your biggest weakness? You can say that you're not very good at public speaking. You'd be willing to try and improve. When someone crosses your line, you can directly tell them, the way you just spoke to me has crossed a line. Then you must adhere to the boundaries you set beforehand, such as leaving the conversation, maintaining distance, or ending the interaction without exception. Boundaries are not for discussion or bargaining, nor are they set to make the other person comfortable. They are for your own protection. Once you truly understand and become accustomed to this concept, you will become more firm and confident in upholding boundaries. Frequent use of profanity in conversation is like adding too much seasoning to food. It distracts from the core information and makes you appear more emotional than rational at that moment, which usually does you no good, especially in leadership positions. If you want to be perceived as stable and reliable, be careful not to include profanity in every sentence. Too much profanity loses its original emphatic effect. Using it only occasionally when you truly need to emphasize a point or strengthen your tone will be more effective. When you want to say something that might make someone uncomfortable, never start with, I don't want you to misunderstand, but because this almost certainly will cause a misunderstanding. The word but negates everything that came before, such as, I love you very much, but I can't. A better approach is to say, you might misunderstand what I mean. This leverages people's desire to correct others, making them more willing to listen. When someone says you can't do it, our instinctive reaction is often, I'll show you. By utilizing this psychology, you can significantly improve the effectiveness of your communication.